and because of that, the princess was kidnapped, and she is now dying of poison. Even though the knight must protect the princess no matter what happens. While acting, Serena thinks when Woongram uses his aura barrier, there will be no way for her to harm him with any of the skills that she possesses, once he's close enough for him to not be able to dodge, in a situation that she would not consider, and when he is focused on something else. All the conditions are met now. Then she pulls out her knife and attacks him. Silver Blade Strike has been activated. Silver Blade Strike is only activated within extremely short distances. The chances of striking the target's weak spots are significantly increased. This attack has an extremely high chance of ignoring the target's defenses. The attacks that hit the target's weak spots deal 300% extra damage. He then sits down and surprises why the princess did this. She drinks something to neutralize the effect of the poison. She smiles and says no, she can take a breather finally. Woongram thinks the princess must have been affected by some evil mind magic. Otherwise, she would not try to kill him. He can't let her do this, so he needs to strike back. But she does not give him any chance and cuts her throat. After that, she felt he was trying to say something. The level up points for the rune blade have increased by 70,000 points in an instant. She then decides to put Woongram's body inside the dead monster's mouth. In this way, other members won't be able to determine the cause of his death. She can't get rid of the blood stains on her dress, but she will just have to cover it up with another blood stain. Then she also makes cuts on her body, but then she realizes there was poison on the dagger. She made a mistake at the end. She falls to the ground. After some time, when the remaining members come there, they find her senseless. They move forward to take care of her wounds. Suddenly, Hansen sees the arm of the Woongram. He knows Woongram was the best knight in the Empire and the captain of the Imperial Guard. He mourns over his demise and asks how he got crushed beyond recognition in the jaws of a monster. He notices something is off. The body is badly damaged, but the surroundings are too clean, and those cuts that seem like they were done by a sharp blade. He thinks maybe this was done by someone stronger than Woongram. It was clear that even Hansen the Wise would not be able to figure out the culprit, as he would not ever assume that Princess Serena would have killed Woongram. Later, when the group members are resting, Princess comes to her senses. Hansen tells her that they have healed her bruises and cured the poison. She says thanks and thinks could she have left a trace somewhere. Hansen says he is sorry to break this bad news to her that Sir Woongram, one of their heroes, has died. Serena thinks he might notice something through her reactions, so she must just cry for now. So she again starts acting and says how could this happen. She feels it is not difficult to pretend to be sad. Thanks to the social skills of the princess, she can act more intricately. With this, she will look exactly like a master who is devastated by the loss of her trustworthy subordinate. On the outside of her tent, other members hear she is still crying. They know she has been crying for over an hour and say she is going to faint if she keeps going. They come to see her and say it's fine, she has lost a treasured subordinate after all. Everyone is being considerate of that princess since she is an important NPC in clearing the dungeon. She says she can't keep being sad as she thinks they all are behind schedule because of her illness. But Yihyun says nope, even if it was not for her, they would not have been able to proceed for a while more. Another member says there is a big conflict on the division on the loot that was obtained after taking down the Elder Hydra. She then comes to know that they killed the Elder Hydra, a giant monster. A reward befitting of that achievement would have come out, so she inquires what kind of items came out for a conflict to happen. Yihyun gives her a bag and asks her to check it for herself. She sees a poison dragon magic spear. This spear, made by an ancient blacksmith master, changed through a long period within the Elder Hydra. She also sees a poison dragon armor, which is an inner armor made with the Elder Hydra's skin. It possesses high defense stats and significantly reduces the chances of being hit by a critical attack. She says these are 2 legend-ranked items. Since the items are this good, so everyone is fighting over their possessions, she says to Yihyun that it would be best for these to be given to the ones who will be able to best utilize them. He says he was also thinking about this. They decide to give the poison dragon magic spear to Mr. Kang Muhan and the poison dragon armor to the Myrini, who performed the next best. But another member interferes and says they cannot do that. When the princess asks his name, he says he is Kim I-hyun, a normal priest. When she asks why they do not agree, he says that when this mission ends, they are going to be competitors again. He also asks isn't it obvious that they would want to stop their competitors from getting more powerful. She thinks she vaguely noticed it, but she did not expect him to expose it like this. As expected, this guy is a villain as well. She says it is laughable that they are being shaken by something like this. When this raid ends, she can open the storage of the Empire and provide as many items like these as they all want. If they want, she can even let them swim in gold and jewels. Ihyun asks the princess not to think that a treasure like that exists in the Empire. Although this may sound impolite, he was questioning everything that she said. She asks what does that mean? He says the feather of the phoenix could revive the dead. He then says if she could have brought that item here, they could have revived the dead Woon Gram. He suspects an item like that even exists in the Empire. She becomes furious over it and pulls out her sword. He says she got angry and doubts the princess might not be an NPC. She says it seems like Kim Ihyun does not know the meanings of the words that she has just spoken. Kim Ihyun says he said that he would forgive a statement disregarding the Empire only once. If she kills him in public, she won't be able to deal with the consequences. She asks what consequences he is talking about. Other soldiers ask her to do as she wishes. She knows people don't act unless it benefits them, and these people think that death will benefit them more. She asks Hansen to tell these fools the truth about the treasure of the Empire. So Hansen speaks up and says the feather of the phoenix exists. As expected, unlike the stuck-up Woon Gram, she knew Hansen would play along with her lies. Hansen further says the reason why they could not bring it along was because the treasure storage of the Empire was taken over by monsters. If they defeat the Demon King, they will be able to retrieve all of the items inside the treasure storage. Serena says if they remain like this, the sacrifice of the ones fighting outside will only increase. From now onwards, she will take care of all items that might cause conflict. But Kang Myuhan objects to it and says it will be best to give them out to the ones who have performed well in the battles. She says she will give the dragon spear to Kang Myuhan and poison dragon armor to Mai Rini. She also announces to distribute the remaining items fairly among the rest as well. She knows some people may be unhappy about this method of distribution, but the tables have already turned. Now the only thing left is an elite low-grade poison. Later, she calls a soldier Choi Cheolhyung to her tent and gives her the rune blade. He says it is a great honor for him. She says, however, that this sword is still sealed. A sacrifice is needed to unseal the sword. When he asks about sacrifice, she says there is no need to be so tense. The sacrifice will be Count Hansen, not he. She says that when they enter the presence of the Demon King, he just has to grant Hansen a painless death with this rune blade and then pass the blade back to her. She further says to take down the Demon King must be struck with the hellfire magic within the rune blade, and she is the only one who can do that. The hero goes head-to-head with the Demon King. The knight protects the princess, the magician is sacrificed, and the princess makes a critical strike on the Demon King with her sword. Cheolhyung says now he understands that all the NPCs have their roles and tells her that it will go according to her plans, princess. She then thinks he is an easy guy to manipulate. After some time, they start their journey. When they reach near Demon King's residence, they see gates. It is said that the Demon King will be beyond these gates. Kang Myuhan says alright, when Lee Han deals with the Demon King, the top rankers will follow right up. It is said that in this world, there are the ones who only move for their benefit and the ones who move according to their emotions. Serena thinks Kang Myuhan is the latter, but she is not such a selfless person. The only ones who know that she, Serena, must be sacrificed according to the original mission are Woon Gram, who is dead now, and Hansen. Then she gives Hansen a potion that will heal his health. He appreciates her thoughts, but says he is not tired right now. She asks him to take it. As she insists, he takes it from her and drinks it. Yihyun gives them a little word of advice before he opens these gates. He says not to simply approach the Demon King, especially the ones besides the top rankers. They should just deal with the side mobs since he is the main character of this mission, and the rest of them are just side characters. He also advises not to be greedy. He then opens the gates. The Demon King says nice to meet humans. He praises their efforts not falling into despair. Yihyun says Demon King might be having fun, but he can't be bothered since he was dragged here against his will. From their conversation, Serena thinks the Demon King is a god too. She is slowly losing motivation. Demon King says he will engrave despair within all of their souls. Kang asks everyone to open fire as the Demon King's army is coming. Hansen suddenly feels he is short of his breath, even after he drank the health potion that the princess gave him. Then Cheolhyung attacks him from behind with a rune blade. Another member sees Cheolhyung killing Hansen and shouts at him for killing a team member. He suspects Cheolhyung is under some kind of mind manipulation magic. Cheolhyung asks everyone to put down their swords and says he has just fulfilled his role according to the story. When others ask about which kind of story he is talking, he says he will explain later. For now, they have to defend themselves or hold their ground against the undead. He asks them to defeat all the monsters. Then he returns to the princess and says as she has asked, he will return the rune blade. Serena thinks thanks to him drinking the poison without Hansen knowing, things are going smoothly. With this, the seal on the rune blade has been broken. The status window informs her she has cleared the rune blade mission and will be awarded with 10,000 mission points. She says the Demon King is too fast, she can't find an opening to get involved. She sees Kang Muhan attack the Demon King with a poison dragon sword, and Mai Rini also attacks with the item she was awarded earlier. Demon King says he was hoping that he could handle things when he charges head-on, but things are getting a little dangerous. He suspects if humans did get some help, it is still impossible for them to get this stronger within 3 months. He says their efforts are not for nothing even then. He says he was going to teach Li Han a lesson using this mission as an excuse, but he's stronger than he thought. Suddenly, he sees something coming towards him. He then recalls the time when he was nominated as Demon King for the mission, and his boss tells him about the whole story that would happen during the mission. The boss told him as the Demon King, his body would be too strong. According to the story, they will use hellfire during the combat. Whatever happens to him, whatever he needs to do, he must make sure that he should be hit by that hellfire directly. When he asked his boss if that was necessary, the boss told him that this forced mission was supposed to serve more as a warning to users. In present, he thinks the thing coming now was supposed to come at him early in the fight. Then he decides to attack humans with full force. Yi-hyun says he already knew this bastard, the Demon King, would take advantage of this, so he decides to see him after this mission is over. After the Demon King's attacks, Serena says if this continues, everyone will die from the Demon King's attacks. She asks all priests to start chanting holy cleansing and assisting spells, as she thinks since the Demon King is a demon, it should work. Soon this worked and injured soldiers felt their health and defense had increased. Demon King is informed through the stats window that his movements have become slow. Kang Muhan asks everyone to avail of this chance with full force. Serena says this is her chance now. Demon King says he needs to do everything he can to get hit by that hellfire. Serena attacks him with Rune's blade. Soon her status window tells her that she has cleared the Demon King's subjugation mission, and she will be awarded 50,000 mission points. She has cleared the mission, the dawn that parts the darkness. Yi-hyun says that the sad bastard must have been overwhelmed by the idea that he needed to get hit by the hellfire, as the story says. The soldiers say the status window says that the mission's been cleared. They can even return home. The high legendary items like the Sword of Darkness and Demon King armor are also included in the rewards. Kang Muhan asks everyone to keep calm and don't get close to these items placed at some distance. But they see someone shoot an arrow, then an explosion is caused. They feel there is something at the bottom. The status window tells that the essence of the Demon King legendary rarity allows one to change their class to the Almighty Demon King's class. Serena says that's all she needs to get it, while the return function has been reactivated, so she can get it and run away. However, a dogfight is about to go down soon, as all soldiers try to get close to the item and keep it in their possession. Cheolhyung says he is glad that he was at least able to get the rune blade. Then suddenly he thinks of Serena and feels she is nowhere. On the other side, Serena says if she tries to do anything with her current abilities, she will just die trying. So she says it is not wise to get greedy at this point, since she has the rune blade and the other things that they have not shared yet, so she thinks she should go back. The status window tells her that she has cleared an S-class mission, and this legendary event will be recorded for eternity. So she comes back from the mission and changes her body from Serena to Seonghoon. Jerry appreciates him and says he really would have never thought that he would be able to clear that mission. Seonghoon says he does not think it would be possible either. Jerry says it is good to see him again and asks if would he like to take a short break. Seonghoon says now that he thinks about it, everything in this space is free, so he will need to make sure that he takes advantage of everything. Then food is served to him. He says the food is so tasty and thinks this is worthy compensation for his work. Jerry says they can start and proceed with talking about an appropriate reward. Seonghoon says before they start, he has a question. Since he was not able to clear this mission using an orthodox method, he pretended to be an NPC that looked like a princess and fooled other players. He further says since it would get complicated if other people knew what happened, so he asks is it possible for her people to find out how he proceeded with the mission. Jerry says one thing that they keep confidential is information regarding other users. On top of that, since there is a particular god who has been keeping an eye on him, they will make sure that no one can find out what happened. When Seonghoon asks about which god had been keeping an eye on him, Jerry says sorry, but he can't tell him who it is. Seonghoon says he does not need to tell him exactly, and says among the different drops he got while clearing the mission, one had the name Loki written on it. He then says for now, he does not have to worry about others figuring out things about him. Jerry says the total points he currently possesses is 119,211 points. Seonghoon says the last time he checked his points, even with the Demon King subjugation mission, it should be around 80,000 and asks where did the extra 30,000 came from. Jerry says when he was hunting the Demon King, the total points that he received back after using it during the mission was around 30,000. Seonghoon says since he was just sending hellfire whenever he could, so he did not realize that he used over 30,000 points. Jerry then shows him the list of items and skills obtained during the mission and says all of the skills and items he has can be transferred to his original body by spending points. He says first, he needs to take the rune blade back with him since it has the great ability of being able to help him control his talisman arts. He thinks all he has left is 30,000 points and all of the elite class items are too expensive. When he sees the list of prices, he comes to know that anomalous salsa for 2,000, high-level ballet for 3,000, and tap dancing for 1,000. He says he thought skills were supposed to be expensive. When Jerry sees him so excited, he thinks why is he so excited about those non-combat skills. He thinks Seonghoon is trying to be selected by the god of enjoyment. He further says the Seonghoon he knew is not that stupid, so he resumes that there must be a deeper reason behind this. Seonghoon says with the remaining 20,000 points, he will buy the diluted Hydra poison and the Guardian ring. Jerry understood and told him there would be 1,000 points remaining then. Then he says it seems they are finished with everything and unfortunately, this is it for their meeting. When Seonghoon says he thought that Jerry was supposed to support him, but he does not have time for that. Jerry asks him not to be too dependent on him and also asks him not to worry as he will see him again soon. As this was not the last forced mission. He tells further that as a warning to certain people and to give them a chance to grow, these forced missions will continue to occur. Then Jerry is asked to return to the plaza by authorities. When he comes there, he sees Master Loki is waiting for him. Jerry says it is an honor to meet Master Loki. In response, Loki says it's not that big of a deal, this is concerning though. When Jerry asks what that means, Loki says that he would be killed for mentioning the top secret. Then she says well, she does not think it was on purpose, and since Jerry stopped himself anyway, so she won't punish him for it. Jerry says thanks to her. Loki says since Seonghoon will figure out the truth eventually, nothing would have changed even if he did find out. On the other side, Seonghoon walks through the streets and says he thought he could rest for a little longer. The status window informs him that he still has unused mission points. 1,211 points will be converted to 112,100 guild. He guesses it's a little extra money that he can use. He comes to a weapons store and says he wants to ask something. Lulu, weaponsmith NPC, welcomes him and tells him he was getting bored since he was not getting that many customers anyway and asks him what he wants to ask. When Seonghoon asks him if he can change the shape of equipment at weaponsmiths, Lulu says it is not impossible. Then Seonghoon asks him the price of turning a rapier into a long sword. Lulu says it will cost 50 million guilds to modify this sword. He further says if Seonghoon can get some rainbow steel and high-class orichalcum stone for him, he can do it for 500,000 guilds. Seonghoon says it is very expensive and asks him the reason why it costs so much to get it done. Lulu says to extend the length of a rapier like this, materials are needed, and of course it would cost a lot to get the materials. Seonghoon says the orichalcum stone is only obtained while clearing the hardest C-class mission, which only gives a person the lowest grade it. He has also never even heard about a material called rainbow steel. He says even if he does get it, it's too expensive to get this sword modified. So he asks Lulu to just make a new sword like this for him. After some time, Lulu gives him the sword that he ordered. Seonghoon says the time it takes to make a sword is only 1 minute, so he guesses something like unrealistic crafting times is not too bad. He decides to put the real rune blade in his inventory and the fake rune blade on his belt so that he can avoid any suspicion. On the other, the Soullighters who were with him in the Demon King's mission come to the place where the missions are given and ask the receptionist that when they are getting the Phoenix's feather and the legendary items that Princess Serena had promised to give them. The receptionist tells them the Serena they met during the mission was not an NPC, but a user, and says this is all the information that she can reveal per their request. They are shocked to know that Serena tricked them. Meanwhile, the person getting all the attention from others was taking care of a monster with the blade that he swindled from others. He says he can't attack randomly, so it is best to find the timing for the attack. Soon he cleared the mission, the devil's body. He says this is something else. Before he barely cleared the mission with traps, poisons, and sneak attacks, but now he can clear C-class missions by himself. He thinks it was wise to choose the dance skills. Although he is ranked 21st by stats, pure skills can't catch up to people with talent. Although he only has E-class mastery, if he can improve it to S-class, he can get stronger. Then he decides to change the fake rune blade before he goes back. Later, all the soldiers are standing in the quay as they are being examined after this mission. Someone says it seems there is something wrong with Cheolhyung. It looks like he has been swindled by a person named Serena. Cheolhyung, who is examining them all, says a villain like that must be punished. They need to use all the resources in the guild, find them, and make them pay. He announces 10 million guilds to the person who brings back the rune blade. On his turn, when Seonghoon shows him his sword, the examiner says, oh, it's like the rune blade, but it's just a normal rarity. The rune blade that was promised was a legendary class. He then asks Seonghoon to pass. After that, Seonghoon comes to see Miss Ellie. He says it's been a while, she never answered his calls when he tried to get in touch with her. She asks him if he wants to clear an uncleared mission. He says unlike a while back, most missions up to the highest difficulties have already been cleared. Therefore, the fact that it's still uncleared means that it is a difficult mission. Seonghoon assumes it is not a B-class mission, but a C-class mission. Miss Ellie says yes, it is the grave of the crazed magician. He is further informed that the grave of the crazed magician was the mission, where a person enters an underground dungeon and finds the hidden room of a magician who passed away. The only issue is the sheer number of monsters. That is why the mission still has not been cleared yet. When Seonghoon says it would be impossible, Miss Ellie tells him she heard that Hedefa is going to clear it themselves, so if they do not do it now, Hedefa will get it first. Seonghoon says so it means she has a plan for a large-scale party. She says she found a way to clear large groups of monsters. He knows there is no reason for Ellie to lie to him too. She asks him so if he is ready to join her party. He says if she is sure that she can clear it, there is no reason not to join. He further says as long as they find a map and calculate the shortest route, they will be able to clear it easily. She tells him that if he wants to bring anyone here, he can do this. But he says it's not that he does not know anyone. However, there is not anyone trustworthy or skillful enough for him to bring them without hesitation. Then he says he happens to have someone in mind. He guesses they can clear it with the three of them. Before that, she should tell what she has in her mind for clearing out those monsters. But she does not tell about it and says that is a secret. She asks him to meet at the south gate tomorrow morning and then leaves. After she is gone, he thinks what if it is a trap? After that, he comes for training. When students see him doing practice, they are impressed by him. One of them says even among the high rankers, it is his first time seeing someone capable of using that many weapons. He wonders if Seonghoon trained in martial arts or something when he was in the real world. On the other side, Seonghoon feels the effects of his dancing skills are improving. It won't be a bad idea to have a side weapon now that he has better proficiency with his left hand. However, he does not want to dual wield since it would seem like he is copying Myrini. He decides to just take a shield. Then Myrini comes there and asks him if he is capable of using a shield and says that is impressive. He says there is no need to appreciate, he will just slowly learn as he goes. He knows My Rini is one of the only people that had a close look at him while he was Serena, and he hopes that she has not found out that he was Serena at the time. She says as he said, he will get used to it. That means, regard which of the weapon he uses, he has reached a point where he can pick up anything on a battlefield and fight proficiently. From her style, he assumes it seems like she does not have a clue. She further says learned that people who have reached the top of their craft can produce results, regardless of the tools they use. However, he is saying that he has gone beyond that point, and now he is even able to show proficiency in other weapons the moment he touches them. That is impressive. He asks her to wait and tells her that's not what he means. She says although she could tell that it was awkward for him to use it, he was able to get used to it almost immediately. There is no need to try hiding it from her. He says it is just a misunderstanding and asks her not to put high hopes like those on him. She says that she wants him to work with her. Seonghoon says this is not the best place to have this conversation, as few other people also arrive there. He asks her to move someone else first. So they went to a bar. She wants him to take the role of the leader in her party, and he can divide the item drops as he wishes. He says just because they are in the same party does not mean that he will spar with her. She says that's not the reason why she said she just wanted him to work with her. She further says it is just the fact that, unlike the rate of her growth, the rate at which the missions are getting harder is much higher. There is a limit to what one can do alone. That is why she needs allies. At the very least, someone with the skills and humility, and while she is at it, good looks would be nice. Seonghoon suspects she might be testing him. He knows although she can get annoying from time to time, in terms of skill, personality, and trustworthiness, she does check all the boxes. Then he says if he joins her party he will be the leader, and will be the one taking care of item distribution. If they participate in a mission, they all have to listen to all of his orders. She says of course she will be sure to follow his orders and also tells on one condition he has to spar with her once every week. He says once a month, and the day and time of the spar is up to him. That is his condition. Then they finalize their agreement. After that, they come to meet Ellie. Ellie is surprised to see a woman with him and says she thought he said he didn't have anyone to bring. He says well, some stuff happened. And as she said it's fine to bring one more person anyway. She says yes, he is saying right. She thought it was someone random, but to think he would bring My Rini of the demonic sword is unexpected. She knew he wasn't someone to judge by his cover. She then introduces a child as Sa Jongwon and says he is someone she met while he was in this world. Sa Jongwon tells them he is a murderer. Seonghoon says even if he is being generous, Jongwon is only like a middle schooler. Ely then gives her introduction to My Rini. My Rini says it's nice to meet Ellie and Sa Jongwon. Seonghoon says he can already tell that he is the oldest one here, so it would be fine if he spoke casually with everyone. They all allow him to talk like that. He then asks everyone to be attentive towards him and shows them a map of the inside of the Grave of the Crazed Magician, which he bought from Hedifa for 100,000 guilds. He points out the route that has the fewest encounters with monsters. Although it's a little longer than going straight though, it's a lot safer. He also asks others about their opinions. Ellie says she likes another route. When Seonghoon says that there is a large group of monsters there, Ellie says that is why she has already informed him that she has an easy way to take care of all of them. He will understand once the mission starts. Seonghoon becomes curious about what does she has in her mind and says if that's the case, please don't betray his trust, Miss Ellie. He doesn't want to have to kill someone he trusts. While Ellie says she wasn't planning on betraying Yu Seonghoon, she is just preparing for the worst-case scenario. If anyone is to threaten her, no matter what it takes, she will make sure that they pay for what they do. After some time, they are transported to the Dungeon of the Crazed Magician. Seonghoon asks everyone to be very careful. My Rini says she doesn't see any monsters yet. Jongwon also thinks it's safe to say that they're good for now. Seonghoon says now that they have safely entered this mission, then she should show them the plan she has been hiding from them. Ellie says she can't reveal it here, and she needs to go to where the monsters are and plant it right before they use it. Seonghoon asks about the plant. She says the reward she got from the mission was not a skill, item, or guild that she could use. She shows them the demonic path cannon. When Seonghoon sees it, he says it looks like a gun. He knows a gun can shoot only in one straight direction, so he becomes worried about how she is planning on taking all of those monsters with that. She says if one disperses the energy, then it is possible. Seonghoon says the first large horde of monsters should be around 80 low-level undead, so how long does it take to shoot? Ellie says if she plants it and lets it gather energy to shoot, it should take around 5 minutes. He says alright, then he, Rini, and Jongwon will attract the monsters from the front. Since he is doing this to figure out how strong the demonic path cannon is, so there is no need to put in too much effort, he says further. But Jongwon says he wants to stay back as he needs to protect Ellie. Seonghoon says they are still at the dungeon entrance. Since the other direction is closed, there won't be any monsters that will harm here. Jongwon says, but he wants to be there in case anything happens. Ellie stops him and says it's okay to listen to Seonghoon for now, so Jongwon agrees. Seonghoon thinks that's interesting to think that the quiet Jongwon would express his opinions and listen to Ellie as soon as she tells him what to do. Seonghoon says now that he thinks about it, there is no need for all three of them to go, Rini, and he will attract the monsters, so be ready to attack. Ellie says sorry and tells Jongwon just happens to depend on her a little. Seonghoon says it's fine and asks Rini to go with him. After they are gone, Jongwon feels guilty and says it's his fault. Ellie says no, it's not his fault. Ellie took a couple of people from the outskirts of the city, took advantage of their unstable mentality, and changed their perception to ensure that they had no choice but to depend on her. As a result, she was able to produce a product that she was satisfied with. She did the same with Jongwon. To test him out, she pretended to be under attack from a handful of soldiers. At that moment, although his dependence on her is extreme, in terms of battle prowess, Jongwon is top class. Since Rini Unnai is with them too, this is the best chance to test out Jongwon's skills. She decides to make minor changes from there. She holds her hand on Jongwon's shoulder and says it's okay, don't talk back to Seonghoon Appa like that though. She also says that she has already told him that they were his allies. Suddenly they hear the voice of Seonghoon who asks Ellie to shoot. She decides to bed magic into the demonic path cannon. When she uses this, Seonghoon says that's amazing. Even though they're low-level undead, it just took care of them all at once. She asks Seonghoon to take care of the rest of them. While fighting, Seonghoon says it's beautiful and rhythmic. Beyond just his sword skills, it's like watching a dance. He's past the boundary of what should be possible, and all of his unnecessary movements and weaknesses slowly blend in like a dance. Rini feels he has figured out how to improve his skills. Ellie also says she never knew that Seonghoon would fight in a dance-like fashion. He says he doesn't think it's as impressive as they think though. To be honest, he thinks the demonic path cannon would be more efficient in taking care of mobs. Ellie tells them the demonic path cannon takes a long time to get ready to shoot, and since it uses a lot of magic stones, it costs a lot too. It is not something that one can use whenever he wants. Rini observes that Jongwon is not fighting properly. Seonghoon says he was that Jongwon would participate more actively in the hunt. Jongwon becomes worried about hearing comments from them. But Ellie asks him to stop worrying and says to try once more time. Then she tells others that alright, until the next area, she will show them how her Jongwon fights when he tries. Seonghoon says he doesn't understand what that means right now, but he will understand soon enough when the fight will start. He is also worried about the skills that he is using. Although polarity reflection with his new dance skills is impressive, it is still only a half-assed show of what's possible. He knows the sword in his right accentuates his specialty as a swordsman, along with using magical skills in his left hand would be the best for him. He says although using a staff or wand is also an option, that would mean he would have to use talismans, which would make things complicated. He then asks Ellie if she knows anything about the magic books. She says not much, she has not used magic books either. She further says the magic amplification rate is low and activating skills are slow too. She thinks she saw one drop during the last battle though. She then gives him an ancient book and tells him this book was made a long time ago, and it doesn't seem to have any other values. Scroll saving possibly can save up to 100 scrolls. It increases magic amplification by 1% for every 50 saved scrolls. After knowing about this, he says although the other stats are bad, at least he can save scrolls. Even talismans made of paper might be considered scrolls. When he opens books, he says it works. He says that's nice, now he can put talismans in the book and activate them from there. Although there are still problems, it should work for the time being. Ellie sees lightning from his side. Jongwon says he did say he was a magic swordsman. That moment, Rini tells them that she can sense the undead moving ahead of them. If they go a little further, they should be able to reach them. Seonghoon asks Jongwon that does he want Seonghoon to support him, as there should be dozens of undead. Ellie refuses his offer and says Jongwon should be able to handle it, and tells Seonghoon that he must be misunderstanding something, he doesn't need to help. He and Rini ask her why she is so confident about this child's abilities and overrating the child's skills. Ellie asks Jongwon how much he needs to take care of them. Just 5 minutes, he replies. She then opens bottles. Seonghoon says the smell from this bottle is the poison that makes one lose consciousness. She gives that bottle to Jongwon and asks him to drink it. After drinking, he feels some different kind of energy and rushes to deal with the undead. Rini asks others to follow him. Soon Jongwon killed many undead monsters. Seonghoon observes him fighting and says this is not the Jongwon he knows, which means he has multiple personalities. He asks Ellie what she did to the kid, as he has become a completely different person. She says she didn't do much. It's a witch-exclusive spell, Berserker. The Berserker raises the target's ability for a short time and enrages them for the duration of the skill. Although he did get some help from Berserker and the potion, this is his true form. Seonghoon knows already that this kid is the definition of a murderer, but now he believes that a psycho or a crazed man might suit him better. Jongwon says as they can see, once he starts fighting, his personality changes a little, and it gets difficult to work with others. Rini says to be honest, as this child is not capable of differentiating between allies and enemies, she believes it's too dangerous to keep him as an ally. Seonghoon thinks Jongwon's skills are on par with the top frontline fighters, so he guesses he will have to take advantage of him with a close eye. He then says now that he thinks about it, it seems like the spell and potion were what triggered that, and asks Ellie how she undo his status change then. She says it is possible to change, and that's why she asks him how long it may take, and adjust the spell and potion accordingly. Seonghoon then says Jongwon will stay in the back and protect Ellie. Rini says it means he plans to keep this child in their party. Seonghoon says Jongwon can learn how to control his anger while he continues to build experience in the field. Rini asks him the reason for keeping this child in their group. He says this because Jongwon is an ally in their party. If there is something they can help with, they will try to help as much as possible. Rini thinks he is willing to take in someone capable of endangering himself and his party members and allow him to be a part of his party just like that. And she fears that Jongwon would go berserk and try to attack them. Seonghoon says they just need to make sure they stop him themselves. Rini thinks he saw what Jongwon was capable of and thought so easily of it. Maybe he is capable of things she can't imagine. At the same moment, Jongwon also says Seonghoon just accepted him into his party even after seeing everything. The only person who was accepting this was Ellie earlier. Seonghoon says the reason he just accepted him at his party is just lies he made up on the spot to convince them. He knows if he sees anything suspicious, he will just do something about it first. If it's the poison of the Elder Hydra that even the NPCs got affected by, even rankers like Rini and Ellie wouldn't be able to do anything. On top of that, as long as someone can use the same spell and potion as Ellie, anyone should be capable of getting Jongwon to go berserk. He believes this will be interesting. He then asks them to move ahead, finish things, and take a break in the city. On the other side, the only overseer of the mission world, Lucifer, says this is not going to be easy. Loki asks him if he needs any help and then should tell her. She also says she already knew it, so she isn't surprised though. Lucifer says it's not like this happens every once in a while. Loki says this is no fun at all, and he must ask the other gods for help as he is taking care of over 10,000 worlds alone. Lucifer says he is personally given the orders to take care of this world. He then asks the reason for her arrival here. She says she hates dealing with him. It's nothing much, she just had something she wanted to talk about regarding the event and the forced mission. Lucifer says they are considering a martial arts tournament for the upcoming event, and as far as the forced mission, they have 3 possible candidates. When she tries to say something about the forced mission, he says he doesn't accept any offers regarding the missions to be released. He says only one of these 3 is going to end up as the forced mission. One is a dungeon exploration, another is a defense mission, and the last one is unknown yet. He then gives Loki some ball-like things and asks her not to be rough with them. She says she will see him later and wishes him good luck with everything. After coming back, Loki thinks he's found out right about now. She knows that if it were a normal god, nobody would dare try to destroy a world that's already been crafted. However, Lucifer wouldn't bat an eye. On the other hand, Lucifer thinks normally he would have just destroyed all 3 worlds, given that they don't have that much time remaining at this point. Creating a new world from scratch would be tough to do, even for Lucifer. In that case, he would have no choice but to choose between the 2 remaining worlds as the forced mission. Loki say since they had already chosen a dungeon exploration mission for the last time, they would do their best to avoid that. The world that she left as a small present for Lucifer, that present would have to be found by sheer luck. However, anyone who is to find it would receive unimaginable power. She is expecting a lot from Seonghoon. Soon, the patch has been applied. It is written on it that a martial arts tournament will be starting. Entering the event is optional. An appropriate reward will be given based on the results. If anyone dies during the event, he will not lose a life at all. It is also announced that a forced mission will start now. In a full moon's time, everyone will participate and the mission difficulty will be B. No one is allowed to drop out of the forced mission for any reason. An appropriate reward will also be given based on results, which may include elite-level items to an extra life. Rini and Seonghoon have also arrived back and seen the patch. Seonghoon says there is only half a month left until the tournament and the forced mission. There is a limit to what he can do by himself. He needs to make more allies that he can trust and work with. Ellie says since she has a negotiation skill, he can give him all the scraps he needs to sell. He then allows her to take care of it. They come to the shop where the shopkeeper says 15 million guilds for everything. But Ellie says 15 million is not bad. Seonghoon says he would have only gotten 1 million guilds for everything. That's a good deal. He then asks the shopkeeper to show a list of the skill books that he sells. When he is shown that list, he says he knew they would have some books with dance skills available to buy. Although he is satisfied with the dance skills that he has, there are still some points that bother him. They don't work well in close quarters, and if circumstances are not right, he can't bring out the full benefit of the skills. Then he asks the shopkeeper to give him the low and normal breakdancing books. The shopkeeper says he thought someone as suspicious as he wouldn't have a single interest in dancing or the like. Seonghoon says what he means suspiciously. There is no one as nice as him. The shopkeeper says he wouldn't be wrong if the good people in the world were to all die, he guesses. Seonghoon says that he never thought NPCs could share their thoughts or feelings like this. Maybe it's because of the influence of the people that come here and the things they sell. But he decides to just ignore what NPCs says anyway. The next day, he comes to the schoolhouse. The girl at reception welcomes him and asks if is there anything he is looking for. He says he needs intermediate weapons mastery. He would also like to add any skills that have to do with books. Just like he said, if she could bring out anything related to books. She understands what he is demanding and thinks there are not any people who look for these types of skills. Then he brings books and says she collected all of the skills that have to do with books. Since each skill would need to use a charm each time, for sword magicians to be at 100% strength, they need to use a book. He says, however, among these skill books, over half of them have no use for him. She says these skills are related to mastery. When he sees the names of books like Can't Live Without Books, Book of Ghosts, and Books Are Not Weapons, and says although the names are all weird, he likes the skills that they have. He then takes 3 skills plus the lowest and the lowest book writing. She says the price of these 5 books will be 1 million guilds. He says this should be enough. He started reading a book, and soon he earned a new title, Devout Reader. Just like the title says, he has the makings to become a devoted reader of books. He knows because the exact conditions on how they are earned are unknown, it's difficult to earn a title. But he just got a unique grade title. After that, he leaves the shop. While walking, he still thinks that he knows it's a unique title. On top of that, the effect it has is potentially one of the best. As long as he fulfills the condition, he can get 5 stat points with the potential of a 200 stat point increase. As long as he invests 40 days into fulfilling the conditions, he can have a total increase of 600 stat points. If that's the case, he can take rankers by himself. He ponders why he did get that title. He says if it was for people who bought a specific skill, there should have been rumors going around about it. Or if it depended on the number of skills he possessed, but he only bought 5 skill books, it was a chance of 5 out of 50, so 10%. On the other hand, if it's related to sword skill books, 10% of that would be 3,000 skills. If the percentage is considered, it's the same number. It must mean that he is one of the only people who have learned more than 5 skills related to books. He passes by so many people. It is announced that the martial arts competition is soon to start. The rewards are high and the risks are low. This is the chance for everyone to fight against others with no penalty. Wuhan people ask about the duration of the competition. They are informed that it will take place for a total of 20 days. It is also said that once the 4th mission is over, the tournament will continue from there. If anyone dies during the mission, he will be disqualified. But people objected to this and said that doesn't make sense. The authorities are just hosting this with rules that they find convenient. While Seonghoon says this is better, around the time the tournament is over, he would have around 300 stat points. If he includes the forced mission, he can even look for a greater stat increase. He then comes forward and tells the instructor that he will participate. The instructor tells him the registration is over, but as he is a warrior, he can take care of the preliminaries. When Seonghoon asks if can he do this now, the instructor says of course, if he participates before the forced mission, and then wins in the preliminaries 3 times, he may get the opportunity to join the main round. He says since they have more than enough challengers, so Seonghoon can start whenever. The instructor also asks him to tell if there is another name he would like to go by. Seonghoon knows Choi Cheolhyung is still looking for the suspect that took the rune blade, so he says it would be better to hide his identity. So he changes his look also and comes to the ground where other students are also standing. When students see him with a new look, they say he might come to attend a party or something. They say they can just kill him once things start. The instructor then says they will begin the martial arts tournament preliminaries. If anyone leaves the arena or dies during the preliminaries, he will be eliminated. Once there are 2 people left, they will move on to the next round. If anyone dies, he will not lose his life. Students ask him to tell them clearly that can they start fighting now. After some time, Seonghoon kicks off one student who told him earlier that he hates how Seonghoon is organizing this new look. Seonghoon says that the man has left the area, so he is eliminated. Other students decide to attack Seonghoon first and call him a bitch. One of them attacks him from the back, but Seonghoon dodges his attack and handles it with his book and says he didn't expect much, but this is impressive. He knows books are not weapons. He then asks other students what are they all doing staring like that and asks if they will fight with him or not. Then they all start fighting with him. But he continues defeating them. He just blocked their attacks with his book. One of them observes when his sword is blocked by a book, it doesn't even cut. It makes a sound like his sword just made contact with metal or something. Another one says there is nothing to worry about this bitch, they can take this fool down soon. But Seonghoon attacks that man for underestimating him a little. A few students say it seems like he is pretty strong, he might be a ranker. He was holding those books to taunt them and make them think he was a lot weaker. Seonghoon says there was no need to taunt. All of them are weak though, easy to take care of anyway. He says he is not taunting but just practicing. One student says there is one thing for certain, that bastard got a talent for making other people pissed off. Seonghoon asks him who said that he could talk casually with him. He has been honoring everyone up until this point, but if they keep talking without respect like that, he would get pissed off at them too, he says further. That man asks everyone to get him and says they all can take him on, it's just one person. There is nothing he can do against so many people. They come to attack him all together. Seonghoon decides to exchange his magic power for agility. He uses his vaporization skills. One of the students says it is like watching a choreographed fight scene. Seonghoon continues attacking others, and he also says when he first arrived in the mission world, he killed another person without hesitation and felt no remorse. However, others are different. Since he has a hostage, they can't attack him so freely. If it was he would have stabbed them. The person who was talking nonsense about him earlier requested him to save his life, but Seonghoon didn't show any mercy. Similarly, another student requests him to let him go. But he asks him not to worry and says as long as he cooperates with an experiment of him, he will let him go. Seonghoon says to that man that although he can't die during the martial arts tournament, he assumes that person doesn't want to die a painful death. When he gets a response from him, Seonghoon says it's good to see that he is being so cooperative with him. He then says it is nothing major of an experiment. He just started using books to fight and just had a small question about it. When that man asks what question he wants to ask, Seonghoon asks him to tell about attack strength. But when the man refuses to tell, Seonghoon attacks him too with a book and says the books are inadequate to use as weapons. It has too short of a reach and he can't attack with it well. He says it's all thanks to, I can't live without book skills. Even if he doesn't have the book in hand and he is in contact with it, it can act as if he was using it directly. He knows using this, he can have a book materialize and place it on the back of his hand. He can at least use it as a small shield. It is announced that the preliminaries are over now. Ghost Nim and Unjongsu Nai have passed the preliminary round. Seonghoon is surprised to know 2 people are still alive. He thought he took care of everyone at the same time. He remembers the first person who attacked him first and then ran out has also passed the round. Seonghoon forgot about him fully after the fight started, and that's why he got the chance to survive. Seonghoon then asks the instructor to start the next round immediately. The instructor says of course they will start, but just wait a moment. They will refill the health and mana that he used just. It is announced that the round of individuals participating in the next preliminary round will now appear. The students are surprised to know that they are having the preliminaries here in this round. It is a chance not to fight repetitive monsters, but a chance to freely attack other users. The announcement is made to start the martial arts tournament preliminaries. If anyone leaves the arena or dies during the preliminaries, he will be eliminated. Once there are 2 people left, they will move on to the next round. The instructor tells Seonghoon that he may begin now. He starts attacking students. Soon, he says with this, he passed the preliminaries. However, there was one thing that he forgot, although he was able to do whatever he wanted with the fake name, Ghost. If he happens to meet Ellie, Jongwon, or Myrini, there would be no point since they would be able to recognize him. He says either he needs to reveal his true identity or he needs to restrict his movements as a ghost. He will need to think about it. He then leaves the arena as the fight has ended. On the other side, in the head of a secret meeting room, Cheolhyung informs the group that the prize money will be increased to 25 million guilds, so everyone must put in some more effort. Kang Muhan thinks the rune blade incident that happened to Choi Cheolhyung is crazy. Another fellow says he thought Cheolhyung would have forgotten about it, but he seems to have held a pretty big grudge. A girl says she believes that it's pretty much impossible to find them. If they hide it in their inventory, there is no way to find him anyway. It is said that the begging king might be able to find him. The begging king convinced all of the weak beggars to join and created a large guild. When Kang Muhan asks for more information, he is informed that of the top 100 rankers, 52 of them have been identified. 20 of them are in the process of being identified and 19 of them have no clue about them. Kang Muhan suggests increasing the prize money and says the most important thing they need is to gain more information. If they can't figure out what kind of people are in their city, they can't figure out anything. The murderer, Choi Yu-yi, says Kang Muhan, Cheolhyung Bikwu, and it was after the forced mission that the 4 top rankers gathered together to create this coalition. After some time, they start gossiping while taking tea. Kang Muhan says he doesn't understand why gods have weirdly named things. They even named this city's name, the first city. It may look like they were too lazy to make a good name. The city after that is called the second city, and the last one is called the last city. Yu Bikwu thinks if this world was created in a way where cities started slowly appearing, it wouldn't make any sense at all, given that more people would lose as time passes. On top of that, the first city not only has walls around it, it has an invisible barrier around it that can't be destroyed. So he wouldn't even bother attempting to escape it. All of the people in the first city were mostly Korean, and a small minority of foreigners were living in Korea. Unless the gods had some odd fixation with Korea in particular, there is no reason to have all the people within the mission be Korean. He then says it is possible that other people from their world could be in other cities. But other fellows say there is no way then, even if they survive within this city, that would mean that they would have to keep fighting each other. One of them says that if there were other cities, then the gods would have told them. Kang Muhan says there has not been a single occasion where the gods were nice to them. Yu Bikwu might be onto something. He then says thankfully, all of the top rankers are gathered here, so they need to make a secret alliance. This secret alliance's purpose is to equally benefit all members. Later, in the Hedefa's meeting room, Choi Yu-yi says they found some interesting objects. Further, he explains that they found a wide variety of siege weapons recipes. They already contacted the blacksmith, and they reported they could produce them. Furthermore, they have also found information regarding ways to organize their military, which will help them handle and organize extremely large groups of people. It is a military strategy meant to organize up to 5,000 people, Yu-yi says more. Biku says siege weapons recipes were given to them so they can use them not just in missions, but in real life too. He is sure of it. There is a 100% chance that other cities exist, and one day they will have to face off against them. To prepare for that, they created this alliance. They have identified the rankers, those in power, people selling items, and the known classes. In addition to that, there is a separate project they're placing their hopes on. When Kang Moo-han inquires about the upbringing project's progress, Yu-yi says that until they start keeping this contract going, he should not stir up any trouble. He also tells them they are using Hedefa's main forces and advanced squad, along with Cheohyung's Windmill Guild members, to calculate the most efficient route. Since the scale of the mission is large and some of them hold personal differences, they still have not been able to find a stable route. Kang Moo-han advises him to just keep putting in effort and says as long as they find it, it will allow this city's military strategy to massively improve. Of the 40,000 people in the city, around 60% are composed